This is the current update to the change planning model, and I think this is the version I'm going to go with for the experiments to happen in October. I made more changes as a result of an aha moment I had while on travel this month. I realized I was better off accommodating short and long-term impacts across the quadrants within the questions. As a result of that, I'm going back to Wilbur's traditional definition of the it quadrants, but with further clarification. Sometimes when learning new things, you have to reinvent the wheel a little bit just to at least soothe one's own mind that the original ideas were absolutely spot on and your ideas were an unnecessary add-on. It happens, and it's all part of the learning process. So I wanted to make sure that I encouraged both short-term and long-term impacts within the model, and that's why I put short-term and long-term in there in the first place. And once I realized that I really needed to do that across all four quadrants, I thought it'd be better to put it in the question passes. So once the short-term and long-term impacts are determined, you can then decide whether you still want to pursue the change. And then if that answers a yes, then you do two more passes. One is to see what you have to work with already. And the idea behind that question is to reduce the gap between current state and desired future state. And then an inventory of what else is needed for the change to work. And the outputs will be the information that'll help with the project and project resource planning to ensure the success of the change. Now, I know in a personal change model that sounds very businessy and formal, but there really is, in my mind, a very similar process that occurs. And so by doing it this way, I think this will allow us to then implement on a broader scale. Plus, this is really the way I think. So this model very much is a reflection of me treating all of life as one big project. So I'm happy with the passes that we've defined as a decision point as to whether to continue, and I'm also happy with the order. So this month I'll be starting experiments. I'll mostly with myself and then one-on-one through my coaching service. I am still a little concerned that I'm going to be inadvertently discouraging positive change, but I think it's a risk that's worth taking just because so many change efforts do require effort and energy and cognitive load. And it may not necessarily be a never, just a not right now, and getting people to start looking at roadmaps is going to be, I think, really important in this next phase. The outputs, I want to make sure that I've got the right outputs that people can work with, and those outputs really haven't changed. I think the October experiments will provide the answer, so I'll let you know what I find in the next update. So I talked a little earlier about redefining the quadrants, and I want to make sure that the differentiation between we, it, and its was clear and easily understood. So in the we quadrant, I wanted to focus on how the relationships change between I and the other. And I very much want to focus that we quadrant on how I interact with other people, so that relationship space. And then the it quadrant is an invitation to walk in another person's shoes. How does the change I make impact them? Because that's an important question, because a lot of the changes we do make do wind up impacting other people in ways that we may not have thought about. And then the its quadrant is a catch-all of all the systems and material things that are external to me. So again, as I mentioned, I'm fundamentally going back to Ken Wilber's definition, and I've just narrowed the explanation a bit and really focused on humans. So the quadrants for the model are I, which is the impact on me and the changes I need to make in my mindset and behavior. We, which is the impact on my relationships and the changes I need to make in how I interact with others, and how I model and reinforce behavior in others through my being and doing. It is the impact on another. So really stepping in their shoes and understanding what role I'm asking another to play, any skills that they may need if it's something I'm doing for a group, any training or support that they may need as well as things change. And then it's, which is the impact on systems, the material resources and the processes needed for the change. The other thing I decided to do this month was split the change planning model into 2 phases. And this phase that we're in right now is going to focus on the individual. I made this phase split for a few reasons. One is Publishizer presented an opportunity to submit a book proposal in the coaching sphere. And I'm going to publicly thank Daniel Stillman for introducing me to Publishizer. Thankfully, I had a chance to thank him in person a week or so back for the same thing, so he knows how I feel. One of the other advantages I see is also by reducing the scope for this phase, I can fit this work into the contest scope. So the book proposal thing really is an experiment. I've never written one before, and even if it doesn't have the outcome of finding a publisher, it's a good experience, and it's helping me think about some things when it comes to marketing my work. And even if I don't get a publisher, I'm still going to self-publish, which will also be a good experience. The second reason for rescoping is right now the opportunities I have in front of me really are more in the one-on-one realm through the coaching practice I'm developing. So I'm going to have a lot more opportunities to experiment in that way right now than I am in the corporate sphere. If a corporate sphere opportunity comes up, I will be experimenting on them. Third is I do need to have a little more time to strengthen my relationship with the organizational design community and with a couple of individuals who are doing great work in this space. And I'm really thinking of Alan Watkins here. He has a really good 4-quadrant model of leadership, and him and Ken Wilber have also started doing work in 4-quadrant change. I want my work to help amplify their work. I don't necessarily want to step on their, actually, I don't want to step on their toes. I would much rather work with them than compete against. So, depending upon how opportunities fall over the next year, I'm going to see whether or not I pursue the groups and organization phase as I complete the individual phase. But I think dividing things up in this way is really going to help. So in summary, for this month, the change planning model is still, any execution still going to occur in the initiation phase of the project. Inputs and outputs have been identified and defined. I will be confirming them in October. I have defined the quadrants, and we're going to move forward with these definitions. And this next month is experiments. The next update to the model will occur during the monthly update at the end of October. If you have any feedback or questions, please comment on this post or email me at wwickham@middlecurve.com.